Hello, and welcome again to another edition of the African Transformation Spotlight, brought to you by the African Center for Economic Transformation. We are an African led, African driven economic policy institute based in Accra, Ghana. We work throughout the continent of Africa and we're connected to the world. My name is Belinda Ayamgha and I'm communications manager here at ACET. And today we're thrilled to be joined by Ndidi Nwuneli, who is executive chair at Sahel Consulting. Ndidi is an expert on African agriculture and nutrition, on entrepreneurship, social innovation, and youth development. She serves on several boards and is a member of ACET's Transformation Leadership Panel. So the TLP is a group of eminent figures from Africa and around the globe who are united by a shared mission and vision to influence, to support, and advise leaders on critical and necessary actions that would help to achieve transformative change in Africa by 2030. So indeed, welcome to the African Transformation Spotlight. We're so excited that you were able to join us today for this very important conversation.
I'm thrilled to be here, Belinda. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Great. So we'll just jump right into the question. And as we're focusing on climate and agriculture for this edition, we know that you've been calling a lot for the need to fix failing food systems. And this call is becoming even more urgent in the face of some of the climate change challenges that we face. As we head into COP next month in November, what are some of the commitments that you would like to see from world leaders at COP that would strengthen food systems, especially in Africa?
Thank you so much, Belinda. This is such an important COP because it's the first COP we're having in Africa, and it's Africa's opportunity to actually reclaim the narrative around climate and also assert our role as leaders in the climate debate. From a food security perspective, the food ecosystem is integral to the climate agenda. Not only is food a huge contributor to greenhouse gas emissions through the cultivation and the high rates of waste that we have in the food ecosystem, but also we're most affected by climate change. Floods, droughts all over the continent affect our food security. So this is a critical time for us as Africans to assert ourselves. And there are three things I would like to see from world leaders. The first is the recognition that the food ecosystem is integral to the climate debate. It's not an aside, it's not a side line, it is integral. And so when we're designing for future for our people and planet, we have to recognize that the food is critical and the future of food is critical, and we have to design with that. But we also have to design with an equity lens and a gender lens, where local communities, women, farmers, and actors across the food ecosystem play a leadership role in the future that we all deserve. And that's the first thing. We need a mindset shift. The second thing is we need resources. We need significant amounts of resources that are patient, that are catalytic, that are innovative, that are homegrown. And these resources have to be channeled to local organizations to deliver on the ground impact, not to international organizations that are based outside the regions where they work, but that prioritize local institutions, leveraging local innovation and local knowledge. Our people know what regenerative agriculture is. We've been doing it for years, right? We need to understand that African farmers, indigenous people, have so much to teach the rest of the world, and we have to prioritize their knowledge and innovation and enable them to scale by channeling the resources and the support they require. The third thing is that we need collaboration. We need partnerships. This climate challenge that we face as a world is so huge. Not one partner can do it alone. So we need collaboration across governments, civil society organizations, the private sector, the development community, families, faith-based organizations. All sorts of unusual suspects need to come together, and we need to change behavior. We need to change behavior at the local levels in our homes, but we also need to change behavior as how we work with governments and what investments we make. We need to shift from our traditional ways of working to saying we're going to work collaboratively to actually commit to critical steps to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, to reduce waste, and to turn away from some of the dangerous and harmful practices that have led us to this place in the first instance. And that will take courage and commitment.
All right, indeed. That was really enlightening. And you mentioned regenerative agriculture, and another term that also comes up when we're talking about agri transformation is climate smart agriculture. Can you tell us what these terms mean in practice, and if there are some examples you can give of sustainable agricultural practices that are working in Africa today?
Yes, those terms are quite popular these days and used oftentimes interchangeably, but there are slight nuances. So, climate smart agriculture is an integrated approach to managing landscapes, the cropland, the livestock, the forests, and the fisheries, which addresses the intellectual challenges of food security and climate change. When people are investing in climate smart agriculture on the ground, what they are focused on is saying, how can I enhance the resilience of my farmland and mitigate the challenges of climate change by adopting the right seeds, the right propagation methods, the good agronomic practices, managing how I use water, reducing my emissions by how I use equipment and technology on the farm, as well as enhancing the productivity of the farm. And in practice, we don't see many farmers in Africa really adopting climate smart agriculture except on commercial farms because it requires precision agriculture. It requires an investment in data and technology, which many smallholder farmers cannot afford, right? Now, regenerative agriculture is a little different. It's basically saying, how can we grow food in the most cost and time efficient manner while respecting the land and leveraging the indigenous practices of the land to preserve the soil health while ensuring productivity of our farmers. Now, the beauty of regenerative agriculture is that it capitalizes on what Africans have done for centuries, which is advance and protect the land. Our forefathers used to leave land fallow for 1 year and then come back to it. We used to use mulching and multi-crop methods where, the nitrogen from one plant, if you grow beans and maize together, it supports each other, etc. So we understand how to grow as indigenous people. And now what we're leveraging is innovation from our seed systems and using improved seeds, drought resistant seeds, etc., to improve the productivity of farms. Now, what we can do with regenerative agriculture and climate smart agriculture, and the opportunity there for us is to understand how to measure the impact that we're creating by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and how to benefit from the resources that are coming into the ecosystem. So there's carbon farming. Farmers are getting compensated for their commitments and their practices to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And we're not seeing enough African farmers getting compensated. And so we're going to need digital tools and data to track our contributions to climate smart agriculture and regenerative agriculture and to monetize that so that our farmers can get the resources they need to continue to grow their businesses. And so, what I would love to see more on the African continent is a lot more embracing and support around carbon farming and around resilience so that we take advantage of the growth in financing for climate all over the world.
Let's talk briefly on the African free continental trade area. What kind of role do you see the AFTA playing in driving greener and more sustainable food systems? And in your work on the continent, to what extent have the stakeholders in the agri value chain, so farmers, agribusiness, entrepreneurs, to what extent are they taking advantage of the opportunities that exist within the AFCFTA?
Well, we were so excited when the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement was launched and signed. And we, as entrepreneurs in the context, believed that this would really unlock tremendous trade opportunities, food corridors, and promote proudly African food within the continent. I have to say that we haven't seen that promise being fulfilled, especially in the food ecosystem. And there are a number of challenges, but there are also tremendous opportunities. I wear a number of hats, as you know. I'm the co-founder of ACE Foods, which is an agri-processing company. We make spices and complementary foods. Sahel Consulting works across Africa. And then we have a company called Africa Food Changemakers, which is focused on helping entrepreneurs in 37 African countries scale. And what I can tell you is that many of those African food change makers are committed to trading across borders. We have Africa food change makers in Ghana, in South Africa, in Kenya, in Nigeria, and they want to meet each other. They want to work together. They see the benefits, and they're depending, and all of us are depending on the AFCTA to say, how can you reduce the burdens and the hurdles to trade? We're connecting these entrepreneurs. They know about each other. They have information. They have data. They have funding, but they need a few barriers removed. One of those barriers is this restrictions to transportation and the high cost of transportation across borders, the number of checkpoints, the hurdles, etc. We also need financing uh, flows, not financing for these entrepreneurs, but the fact that our currencies don't even are not equally traded, as they're still pegged to the euro and the dollar, and converting them, the high cost of transactions because of how archaic our banking systems are. We also need standards where if my company's products are certified in Ghana, I can sell them in Nigeria. I don't have to go and get certification again in Nigeria. We need standards across the board for our food trade. There are lots of burdens. Now, what Africa Food Change Makers is committed to doing is working with others to reduce these burdens, but also to enable our entrepreneurs to become more sustainable in the face of climate change. So, we're launching an e curriculum that's focused on helping them build green and sustainable businesses because many of our entrepreneurs do not know how to adapt to climate change, how to mitigate, and how to ensure that their business models are sustainable and are climate smart. And this is critical to the work that we do. So it's really important that we work collaboratively, and that's why I'm excited. ACET is taking a leadership role on it. And hopefully, sitting in Ghana, you will work with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement team to really put food and food entrepreneurs at the front of all of these engagements.
Awesome. My last question would be: when we talk about AFCFTA and some of the opportunities, I'm always keen to know, are young people really taking advantage of it? And maybe you can talk more on the food ecosystem. Do you see young people really taking advantage of the opportunities in this sector when it comes to the AFCFTA and when it comes to ensuring that food systems are secure on the continent?
Well, the sad reality is that historically, young people have not seen agriculture and the food ecosystem as very attractive because they see it still as a poor man's profession. But with the rise of technology and innovation, ag tech is getting more young people excited about the sector. We're also seeing a growing interest in young people leveraging innovation and technology to leapfrog. And we really believe that if we can change the narrative about food and agriculture and change the narrative that this is a lucrative sector, we'll get more young people engaged. I think we can see that young people are climate champions. They see the importance of climate change and they are leading in a lot of spheres, but we want to see more young people excited and engaged in the food and agriculture sector. And through my work at Sahel Consulting, we started a Sahel Scholars Program, a Sahel Scholars Conference to get young people excited. And actually, this last conference was focused on the role of young change makers in driving climate smart agriculture, regenerative agriculture, and creating wealth leveraging climate. And just to tie it all together, all over the world, people are making money from carbon credits. They are making money from carbon farming. They're making money basically saying, oh, well, we are reducing greenhouse gas emissions, so we should be compensated by the world. And there's a price on carbon. We would like to see more young people who understand financial markets getting involved and ensuring that our farmers, African farmers who are embracing these approaches, get compensated for what they do. And that's why I'm excited about the role of young people in agriculture, the importance of the climate ag nexus. The gender piece is really important, Belinda, because it's not just young people. We want to take the leadership role in ag and food. We want women at the forefront. And I'm excited to see more women coming into the space and taking their place in this nexus.
Awesome. We're excited to see more women coming into this space. So we have been talking to Ndidi Nwuneli, who is executive chair at Sahel Consultant. She's doing amazing things in this space. And we've had a very exciting conversation on food systems in agriculture and climate change and how to ensure food security on the continent. We hope that you've enjoyed this conversation on this edition of the African Transformation Spotlight. You can learn more about ACET and our work at www.assetforafrica.org. And we hope that you're able to join us for the next edition of the African Transformation Spotlight. Until then, do take care and we'll come your way again soon. Thank you very much.